Welcome back. It's no secret that I know a thing or two, maybe 10, about wine. But when it comes to beer, I still have so much to learn, which is why I'm very, very excited about this next segment.
As it turns out, Jess, one of the latest beer trends draws its inspiration from the world of wine. So, here to introduce us with some brews that are perfect for wine lovers is drinks expert Ren Navarro. Welcome back to the show.
Hello, my friends. How are you?
Ren, Cynthia and I are so excited because we always have the best time with you. And today is going to be super exciting because, listen, I always thought there were fans of wine and there were fans of beer, but this trend, it's blowing my mind. It's bringing these two worlds together. So can you explain what it is and how it works?
You know what? I always like to think of it as that you got peanut butter in my chocolate, you got chocolate in my peanut butter. It's that same kind of notion, right? So brewers love wine and winemakers love beer. And it's one of those moments where it's like, why not combine the two and let's see what we can do with it and have some fun. And some of the examples we're going to go through today are just super fun takes on this whole notion of mixing the two.
Well, right now I am thinking of my one of our former co-hosts, Marcy Ian, because she was a big fan of sweet wines, and I don't think she loved beer. So this one you're starting with today is for people who really are into those sweeter wines, like a Moscato. So talk about this particular beer and its flavor profile.
Yeah, so this one is Wild Years from Merit. Spinney, who is the head brewer, is a really huge fan of wine anyway. And so he's always been looking to kind of do something different. So this is actually for their 4th anniversary. And it is a good blend. So Muscat's a white wine, but it does come in either a white or a black grape. But in this case, obviously it's white. The flavors you're going to get from this are a little sweeter. They've also mixed it with nectarines, but they've taken some of the traditional beer techniques. So Brett, which is a bacteria that does some souring, is in there. And then the Muscat, again, those grapes are in here. Oh, yeah. Like if you just smell that and then the nectarines in there. So
yeah,
it's fruity, but the bite of sour actually kind of balances it out. Because I'll admit, I didn't think I would like this because I'm not a fan of sweet wines. But it's like an interesting mix of the two and very, very nuanced, I would say.
Think of that, the notion of a sweet wine, but if you mix it with something that gives it the tartness, it'll cut through some of that sugar. And that's what's happened in this case.
So can you walk us through how they actually go through infusing those different kinds of flavors in a beer?
Yeah, so in this case, what they've done, it's barrel aged. And normally when you barrel age, you're going to leave it for a while. So in this case, and Spinney has sent me some notes, because again, he's very passionate about this. So it was 3 weeks of the brew and the fermentation. And then they actually transferred it into barrels and did 650 pounds of fresh pressed muscat skins and 300 pounds of locally picked fresh nectarines. And then what they did was they treated it like, yeah, right? Like, think of how many pounds that is. Like, that's a lot. So they did that, but then they treated it like an orange wine. So if you've had orange wine, that's about skin contact. So they left it on the skins for 28 days. And that's really going to impart that extra layer of flavor. And so they did that. And then they put it into barrels, and it's conditioned for 6 to 7 months in the bottle. So if you do grab this bottle, be very careful when you open it because it's bottle conditioned, which means that the fermentation is still happening within it. And so when you open it,
living and growing,
it's been active. Yeah.
Let's move on to the second beer because it's made with the same grapes that go into a Riesling. So tell us about this one.
So this is Two Crows, and this is their lager with a Riesling paquette. Nice little can. This is not aged. What they have done is they've taken a pomace, which in the wine world, that is the leftover bits of grapes after they've been crushed. So you're looking at skins, pulp, seeds, stems. They took that and as part of their fermentation, created that as a sugar for the yeast to eat. So what you're going to get with this is a little bit of that sweetness that is totally a Riesling. Right, but the crispness on the end is a lager end. So it gives you a little bit of that beer note. But it starts off, it's pure wine in there.
I wonder if I declared myself a non-beer lover, what I would experience with this. Like you could almost just kind of like give it to somebody, just be like, here, just try this. And don't even say it's a beer.
Yeah.
Just try this and tell me what you think. Right?
The other part too with these combinations is you're looking at lower percentages. Like, I mean, wine is, 12% and up. These beers, especially the ones we're drinking today, I think the highest is probably just over 8%. But otherwise, they're still fairly low. So you still have that accessibility where you can say, okay, I'm going to sit outside for a while. And if I drink a whole bottle of it, like, I'm not going to feel as bad. So there is a little bit of a difference in it there.
So let's move over to brews that are inspired by red wines. I'm really a huge fan. I love a full-bodied red. So I'm curious to try this next one that's particularly, it's for fans of Merlot. So what can you tell us about this lovely bottle that came with a cork?
So this one is Short Finger, and this is their Saxy back. He's bringing Saxy back. I mean, if you look at that color, that mimics a red wine completely. Like, that's beautiful.
Stunning.
And so it does have Merlot in it. And then there's Tachonic, which is a red wine grape. And again, he's aged these in barrels. So this has been sitting for a while.
That's unlike anything I've had before.
It's very unique.
Rob loves sours. That's his thing. So he will do blends. So he has aged these on 2 different grapes, and they've been sitting, and then he sat and has blended them until he's happy with how they come out. So this is 2 blends, sat separately with beer in both. So again, he's doing Brett, which is a souring bacteria that will give you kind of that tanginess in the back. Mm-hmm. Blends them in together. And so you still get some of that bit in the back, but there is a flavor in there that you're like, I recognize that. That's wine.
It's wine, but also kind of a sour candy. Like, it reminds me of what you were just describing. It's like that similar kind of feel of when you have, and I love a good sour, like a, soft, squishy sour candy mixed with wine.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, that's actually very impressive. Wow.
Thank you. So it's got a cork, which leads me to believe that you could put the cork in it and leave it. Or is it more like a Prosecco or any other carbonated wine where you kind of, once you open the bottle, you have to finish it?
You'll have to finish it. In terms of freshness,
okay.
Once you open it, yeah, right. But I mean, that's wine too, right? Like you can recork or you can recap your wine, but it'll never be as fresh as it was when you first opened it. Because there is a level of carbonation to this. If you recork it, you will lose the carbonation, which means you'll lose some of the nuances.
Our last beer, and my preference for red wines tend to skew towards bottles I can't afford, like really good Burgundies and Barolos. So I'm hoping this last beer will satisfy my taste buds and my budget, because baby got to save some money. So tell us about this beer from Nova Scotia that uses a French-American grape.
Yeah, so it's the Lucy Coleman grapes, which is the French-American hybrid grape. And so with this, you've got kind of this deep, it's probably a deep ruby color. Great head on it. I don't know if for your bottles, but I had my bottle open and it was kind of doing a little bubbling and fermentation type thing on the side. I mean, if you smell that, you get quite a bit coming out of it. Again, it's barrel aged. They have done this as a collaboration with Benjamin Bridges.
They're great. That's Nova Scotia, right? Mm-hmm. Benjamin Bridges?
Yeah.
They do some fun stuff there.
There's like freeze dried dark cherry. Like, those the green cherries that you get. I get that in there. I get a little bit of tobacco or oak. So I'm thinking of like oak aged wines in terms of that. Because it's Belgian and the double, there's a little bit of sweetness in there. So that's like a brown sugar.
For me, I was like thinking, is there a bit of a dark chocolate? But I think it's the sugar that you're like, there's a tiny bit, but it's a deep sugar. It's not like a insipid sort of, Yeah.
Yes.
It's really lovely.
It's almost like the sugar of a molasses, that deepness and richness in there.
Yes. Molasses. That's what it is.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, Ren, we love it when you come on. This is a joy. Thank you for introducing us so much to these new brews.
My pleasure. Cheers, my friends.
Cheers to everyone. For a recap on everything we sipped on today, you're going to want to go and visit our social media channels. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.